Hi, I'm Randy Stern.
And I'm George Torline.
And this is Victory in Reseda.
Or Victory in Reseda quarterly review of our vehicles. Actually, the highlights of some of the vehicles that can be found on victoryinreseda.net.
Please note the new URL because we just changed it recently. So therefore, you don't have to go randystern.net anymore. Just go directly to Victory, and that's spelled out, A-N-D, Reseda.net.
So that's where you're going to find all the articles to the vehicles that we will be talking about. With that, Randy, what's our first vehicle that we're going to talk about?
Oh, we got a very good one right off the bat. It is the brand new Acura MDX Type-S, which, as you're aware, Acura is bringing back the Type-S trim level for the more performance vehicles across the lineup. They've already started with the TLX. Now they have it on the MDX, and same type of engine. It's a 3-liter turbocharged V6, 355 horsepower. This one is the first SUV on a brand new platform that you're going to see several new Honda and Acura products on. As a matter of fact, the next one will be the Honda Pilot. Therefore, attached to this V6 is the super handling all-wheel drive, which is more of an Acura all-wheel drive system that's supposed to induce more performance than, say, traction. But it does work very well traction-wise. As with the MDX, it's a 3-row SUV. However, the seats inside the Type-S are more performance-oriented, more enthusiast-oriented, which means they're firm, but they got plenty of bolstering when you're inside. Now, if there's a drawback on the Acura MDX, then I'm going to have to say it's for most of the new Acuras, it's the infotainment trackpad. You see, it's so fussy. And I mean, I would rather have a touchscreen, but the distance between you and that touchscreen is a little bit too far for people.
True, the trackpad makes you have to use that interface rather than just directly touching the screen and directly manipulating the options, which I tend to prefer. So it'd be, and that's kind of the general trend where most vehicles are headed, is a direct touch. So hopefully in the future, Acura will update that to be a direct touch screen.
Let's just hope so. So, George, you have any other thoughts on, because you've had a chance to drive the Acura MDX?
Yeah, I thought it was a nice sporty driving vehicle with the seats holding you in, so like the sporty seats that we mentioned earlier. And I like that gold color. It's very bright and attention-getting. So yeah, and as well, the interior layout I liked as well.
It is an attention-getting car, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, that gold color just makes it really, really cool. Although, you know, I wish we had better weather when we had that car.
It was a little chilly, but it kept us warm.
Yeah, but I was thinking about traction and grip, because it's got that sport mode, and I really want to work with that sport mode.
Well, certainly cold weather can put a damper on some of the fun, but with that vehicle, you can use it year-round, so it's a good year-round vehicle.
Well, to sum it all up, the best way I would describe this is the MDX Type-S is where it's really at. It's an enthusiast-focused 3-row SUV that likes to play, but also provides you a sense of control at the same time. It's a good combination in my book, and that's a direct quote from the review itself. And with that said, you know, in speaking of vehicles being used year-round, let's jump into the new Toyota Sequoia. This is a brand new SUV that's built off of the current Tundra frame, and it's built in San Antonio alongside the Tundra itself. The twist is that it's only available with one engine. It's that iForce Max twin turbocharged V6 with a hybrid engine. So you have this rated at 437 horsepower with 583 pound-feet of torque.
Wow.
Yeah. But, you know, which is something that none of its rivals have available in their lineup right now.
Sure. So if you need something that you want to haul people as well, do towing with, this is a nice option.
It certainly is. And speaking of people, there's 3 rows of seats inside, and you have a huge cargo hold, about 86.9 cubic feet when you fold down the second and third rows. It's a large cabin. It's pretty user-friendly.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly you can utilize this vehicle for a lot of utility type things.
Absolutely. I do have a couple of complaints, of course. One thing is, it's a Toyota thing, is whenever you're trying to do tight maneuvers and you have it on 4-wheel drive, which we had to have during the time we had the Sequoia, the axle does buck. Other thing that I was a little concerned about was the tire selection of this particular tester. It really didn't grip as well as I thought it would, especially when you talk about snowy and icy roads, particularly icy roads. But, like we always say here in Minnesota, the solution to that problem, get winter tires.
Absolutely. Winter tires with the rubber compound, the softer rubber compound and the Sipe tread really helps with the ice and snow traction.
Absolutely, especially on a big 4-wheel drive SUV. I said in the review the following, which is the 2023 Toyota Sequoia is a standout vehicle that delivers on the unique approach to a popular segment. And boy, it's a popular segment.
Plus, with the Toyota reliability, it's a very attractive choice.
But before you go out and buy the umpteenth version of your favorite large SUV, give the Toyota a try. It might just break your habit and will make other parents rethink what they bring to their school run, quote unquote.
Quite a vehicle to bring kids to school with. So you can't have a snow day with that vehicle, unfortunately. But
yeah, but then again, look at what the other parents are driving, right?
That's true. There are some other impressive SUVs that other parents are using too.
The tester we had was the top-of-the-line Capstone, and it came out to $80,906.
And that's the top line trim. So you can have these in lower trims for less money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you still get a good amount of content per trim level, which is something that you have to really watch when you're shopping, say, apples for apples, so to speak.
Sure. Let's talk about the next vehicle, the Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid.
Yes, the PHEV, which I call the sequel to Voti 2021. And by the way, did you notice what's on the shelf up here?
Yes, I did. That is the actual plaque award that we will be awarding to our 2022 Voti, which will be going to Ford for their F-150 Lightning.
Absolutely. In fact, the 21 version is sitting at Mitsubishi's headquarters. We had photographic evidence of that recently.
That's right.
Yes, thank you to Richard Herod III over at White Bear Mitsubishi in White Bear Lake, Minnesota, who actually provided our PHEV. And thank you for rebroadcasting our review on your social media channels as well. With all that said, the plug-in, let's talk about the plug-in system for a moment. So this is a different engine that's being used in the regular Outlander. What Mitsubishi did is that they swapped out the motor that's currently in their non-PHEV Outlander and put in a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder engine, which is larger than the last generation model. However, most PHEVs usually tack on one electric motor, and that's it, call it a day. Well, Mitsubishi adds 2 electric motors, one for each axle, which is part of the standard super all-wheel control system. They're named for all-wheel drive. The way it works is that it's driving more like a electric vehicle, battery electric vehicle, than just a plug-in. Because what we found with most plug-ins is that when you have battery juice, the battery gets priority over the gas engine. So once the battery is drained, then it cuts over to the gas engine, and there's no intervention by the electric motor. Mitsubishi's is different, because not only do they have a longer range, it has to be about 38 miles on electric power only, but you still have the electric motors in play even when you've already cut over to the gas engine. So you're prolonging the battery life and the battery range whenever you drive the Outlander PHEV.
And it's also giving you some additional performance because it's assisting the internal combustion engine.
Absolutely. Much better performance than the last generation model. It just drives very well. I mean, it's simply, it won't let you drain battery. As I wrote in the review, is it won't let you drain the battery as fast as, say, the other competition. We have had some competitors recently this past year. And it just simply drives better.
And the integration between the electric motors and the internal combustion engine is very smooth and nearly seamless, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it has an EV type of transmission. It's a single gear, pretty much direct drive system, along with a reverse, of course. Now, I also wrote in the reviews that the point of the 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV is to create a better plug-in hybrid, which they did. One that emphasizes the electric drive side of the equation as opposed to the gasoline one. I mean, one that is honest in its approach and delivers accordingly.
And it's built on top of the recently updated Outlander, which has very nice, comfortable seating and ergonomics. So it's really become a very nice package.
And the quality is much better these days.
It is.
Yeah. In fact, I think a friend of mine just recently took delivery of a PHEV, and it uncannily, it looks like the one that we worked with.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. The white on white on white, pretty much.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm not the only one that's been driving our vehicles all the time. In fact, George, tell us a little bit about your spin on the rental car roulette recently.
Yes, I rented a car recently, and it ended up being a Kia K5, a 2022 model. Had 22,000 miles on it, and it reminded me a lot of the Volkswagen Jetta in its layout, as well as its handling and driving was almost similar to that of a Jetta. If you are cross-shopping between the two, check out the K5 because it's a very similar sized and performing vehicle. It has a 1.6 liter turbocharged motor, and the pricing is almost in line with the Volkswagen as well. So for the LXS that I drove, they're running at about $26,800. So
whoa!
That's not too bad. It gives you 180 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. And it delivers that very smoothly across the rev band, and it was a comfortable road car. I found the seats comfortable, and it wasn't a bad package.
Now, where did you have this rental car?
Well, I was down in the Phoenix area, luckily during the Christmas season when it was very cold up here. I was able to escape that for a brief period, but that also allowed me to get the opportunity to check out other vehicles like the Lucid and Rivian. So we'll talk about those at a later time. But yeah, it was a good car that I had for, gosh, about a week and a half. I had that vehicle, and it accepted my luggage, my gear, everything I asked of it. It performed admirably.
You know what's amazing about the Kia K5 is that it's in the mid-size segment, which of course the Jetta is more of a compact. So this is more comparable to the Passat, which is no longer in production anymore. But it's also in a contemporary to cars like the Hyundai Sonata, the Toyota Camry, Honda Accord, Nissan Altima, etc. It's a dying breed. However, it shows that Kia still makes a car that is relevant to their lineup, that might not be as relevant to the rest of the market, but it's something that you could still offer. Sedans are not dead, folks. It's just that you have to find a really good one like the K5. And I've had one a couple of years ago to work with, and I mean, I found it was a very well-mannered mid-size sedan, even more so than, say, a Camry or a Accord or a
Yes, I would agree.
fabulous. I'm glad you had a chance to really experience something down in Arizona that was really good for its class. Now, you did mention Rivian that you saw down in Phoenix, and actually I had a chance to drive one.
Yes, tell us about that.
Yes, I will. It's called the R1T, which is the pickup truck. There's two models that Rivian sells right now. There's the pickup truck, which is the R1T, and then the SUV, which is the R1S. Now, the pickup truck is the one we've been seeing a lot here lately because they've been the first to be manufactured and the first to be delivered. Now, how I got a hand of it was I was working on a story with another publication I happen to be the managing editor of. And so they invited me to drive one briefly in the area near their service center locally here in the Twin Cities. So I was able to glean a lot from that short experience. And this is what we do here at Victor and Reseda, is that when you have a chance to drive, say, something maybe 25 minutes, 45 minutes, you can learn a lot about a vehicle in a short amount of time. And here's what I've learned. It's a pretty good vehicle for its class. It's not as big as, say, an F-150 Lightning or the upcoming Silverado EV, but it's a completely different type of platform, or skateboard as they would call it. My tester had a quad motor setup, which is 4 motors, 2 on each axle. And the performance level on this is just, the numbers are staggering. So 908 pound-feet of torque.
Wow.
With 835 horsepower. And they're claiming a 0 to 60 mile per hour time of around 3 seconds.
Wow, that's moving.
It's a hefty vehicle, by the way. Range depends on what drive mode you're in, and there are several. If you go to, say, what's called all-purpose, which is basically all 4 motors running and all-wheel drive and getting the maximum traction and grip from everything, you could average around 300 miles on even a 98% state of charge. If you put it into conserve mode, then you'll get more range. I think I saw 321 at the same state of charge. Sport, of course, will lower the suspension, but will also lower your range. Not significantly, maybe around 290 or so at that same 98%, but still.
Now, when I was in Phoenix, I was able to go to a Rivian service center, and they had on hand the R1S, which is very similar to the R1T, though shorter, but the SUV version. And looking at that vehicle, it had a really nice build quality to it, I thought. Fit and finish was really nice. And we hope to be able to look at an R1S in the future.
Let's hope so. But in the meantime, when I think about the R1S, I also have to think about all those little cool things that the R1T offers, like the gear tunnel, right between the cab and right underneath the bed, which is really great if you got skis or you got folding chairs you throw in there. And I mean, it's a really innovative piece of kit that you would see in that pickup truck. They also have a few other things that I kind of was like, well, you could have done something else other than, like they had this gear locker type thing where you can tie down a bike inside the bed. I mean, I was looking for maybe even like some external power, like the Ford F-150 Lightning.
That's right. That's one thing that I think they could probably improve on, is the accessibility to all that power in the battery, like the Ford is doing with the Lightning, is that you've got all those power outlets to make the truck a very utility type vehicle to be capable of powering your power tools and whatever else you want to run. So that could be an opportunity for Rivian to expand upon that with their pickups.
Yeah, and speaking of which, we're going to compare the F-150 Lightning Bodie 2022 versus the Rivian R1T. The one disappointment I had, and maybe it's because of its design, is the front trunk.
Certainly it is smaller than the Lightnings and the way it opens.
Because I preferred what the Lightning did, which you're able to load directly right at the bumper level, and you have 14 cubic feet versus you have to load over the lighting system. And you have a secondary hidden, which is bigger than the Fords, but still overall, you're talking about 11 cubic feet.
True. So at least in the Rivian, it does go deeper to that second level of storage, but the total cubic foot area in the Rivian is smaller.
And now that there's more electric pickup trucks being sold, one would hope that Chevrolet and now Ram would follow suit with Ford. Not to knock the Rivian, but that is the one thing that I was a little concerned about Rivian. Another concern is the pricing. The tester did not, there was no actual price given to me on the tester that I drove, but I did configure it and it came out approximately $90,000. $90,750 as specified.
But then you're getting a truck that is capable of hauling not just cargo, but itself down the road very quickly. So you're getting a sporty, quick utility vehicle. So it does a lot.
Don't forget capable, because the one thing that Rivian is pushing is that they are adventure vehicles. They're made for adventure. They're made for you to take off road and to explore and go further afield and say, as I hate to say it right now with the F-150 Lightning, because there's no Raptor or Tremor type version of that yet.
That's a good point.
I want to talk about probably the best vehicle I've driven in the last few months. And that's probably the best way to segue it. The Genesis G90.
That is quite a vehicle.
Quite a vehicle, you're right. This is the newest version of Genesis flagship sedan, and they went all out on this one.
They certainly did. Yeah, I was really impressed by the level of technology and comfort that they incorporated into the vehicle. There's really a lot there.
I would also add the level of luxury, because that's the one thing that if you're going to spend the kind of money on a flagship sedan, you have to have a level of luxury that is worth every penny. So let's the brass tacks on it. Our tester was with the upgraded E-Supercharger, which starts with the 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V6. The E-Supercharger acts like a 48 volt electric system that adds more performance to the engine. So all told, this driveline is 409 horsepower with 405 pound-feet of torque. So a lot of performance. I mean, this version also had all-wheel drive, which is pretty good for traction. But the emphasis on the G90 is there's so much luxury and technology, as you pointed out. I mean, just so much. There's layers of it, actually. As I wrote in the review, I mean, the G90 is an effortless car that exudes a level of confidence and superiority I expect from any luxury car before it or around it. I mean, this is an accomplishment worthy of its benchmark in this industry. So kudos to Genesis for pulling this off. However, we need to point out something. One of the other video channels on YouTube jumped the shark on this vehicle. All respect due to Thomas and to James at Throttle House, but equating this with a Rolls Royce? Are you kidding me?
Well, on a budget maybe, but yeah, it's an alternative if you wanted a lower cost. Is it as good as a Rolls? That might be debatable.
Well, think about this, is that the Rolls Royce is a different kind of check. I mean, the Genesis, at least our tester, came out to $101,295. And the Rolls Royce Ghost, which is the one that they're referring to, we're talking well over $400,000. So I see where they're going with this. However, let's be more realistic. This is more on par, maybe in some respects a little bit better than, say, the current Mercedes-Benz S-Class.
Sure, because I think with the G90, you're not going to experience the same level of isolation to the outside as you will with the Rolls.
However, the Mercedes has a much more advanced level of safety and driver assistance technology that I believe is on the current U.S. market version of this. They have a system for which the vehicle on the side will raise itself up to avoid a T-bone.
That's amazing.
It is. I mean, Genesis might not have that, but Genesis has a lot of the more of the items that you need in a flagship sedan and what you expect for the price point. I will say, though, is that I was thinking about the G90, and I've driven a couple of the recent Lexus LSs, and I got to admit that even this G90 is maybe slightly better than a Lexus LS, which gives Lexus probably more incentive to probably do better when they get to a mid-cycle refresh on this on their flagship sedan.
And that's a good sign because competition in the marketplace will only make these vehicles better.
Exactly. And we won't even talk about the new 7 Series BMW. So let's just skip that there.
And of course, what was the gimmick feature of the G90? Not gimmick, but fun feature, I guess, of the G90.
The doors close itself.
Right. You have little buttons inside as well as other options to have the doors pull themselves closed.
But there's a secret on how to do that.
Okay.
You see, whenever you start the car, you have to put on the brake, right? So if you put on the brake, the doors close by themselves.
That's cool. You don't even have to push a button. It just does it when you hit the brake.
Exactly. It's just so, yeah. It's pretty darn innovative, I can tell you that. But then again, everyone will say, well, other cars do that. Well, yeah, well, other cars do that, but we haven't experienced other cars that do that. And we would like to see more in that flagship segment do that as well.
Well, let's move on to the next vehicle.
Which is our last one.
Yeah.
It is the brand new 2023 Honda HR-V, which is their new small SUV crossover. And it's part of a product assault that Honda is doing for 2023. It's the first of 4 new models that the brand will see introduced this model year. So the previous HR-V was built off of the Fit platform, sort of a subcompact. So since they no longer sell the Fit in our market, they built the HR-V on a larger Civic-based platform. So therefore it's larger in various different respects.
And also offer better safety than the previous platform.
Absolutely. It should, I mean, based on its size. So speaking of Civic, it shares the 158 horsepower 2-liter 4-cylinder engine along with a very good CVT. Rarely do we talk about very good CVTs, but Honda really does a very good, it feels shiftable. It does not go all the way to like the red line and shifts down.
I'm not used to hearing those 2 words, very good, 3 words, very good CVT. I'm not used to that, but it is. It simulates a real automatic transmission, but it doesn't really feel CVT-ish, does it?
No, it doesn't. And that's coming from someone who hates CVTs.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of them either. But yeah, I think Honda does a nice job of giving you that feeling that you're driving an automatic transmission.
Absolutely. Now, this model has the available all-wheel drive, which there are 3 trim levels, and all of them you can choose between a front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. I got to be honest here. It looks different. It looks different than even the rest of the current Honda lineup. I'm not 100% inspired by it.
Yeah, I think the grille is a little bit controversial in the design. It may look like some other manufacturers' products in that regard, and it's a little soft as far as the edges and overall features. It's not a snappy design, but I think they did that intentionally to offer a broader appeal by having a kind of a more generic looking vehicle.
Yeah, and and conversely, it drives pretty okay. I mean, pretty nicely overall. I mean, just a few things. I mean, I found the ride quality was a little rough when you get into these potholed and cracked roadways that we're seeing this month alone after inches of snow dumped on our area. So. But otherwise it drives pretty decently. There is one thing I do miss from the previous HR-V.
What's that?
Do you remember the magic seats?
Oh, yes. How the back seats can go up?
And every which way but loose?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they didn't put them in on this HR-V.
Yeah. Well, at least you have a little bit more room overall to compensate for that.
Which is true, because there was not much room on the older HR-Vs and the Fits, which enabled Honda to do the magic seats. But yeah, it would have been cool if they would have brought them into this new model.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, the pricing on our particular tester, which is the EXL, with all-wheel drive, it came to about $30,590.
But certainly that's more the loaded model without hybrid. Certainly the lower trims that still offer a lot of features can be had for less.
Absolutely. For a good example is that our EXL has 18-inch alloy wheels, whereas you can go to the Sport and get 19-inch alloy wheels and its own grille texture, but you also don't have a lot of the features that you will find in the EXL.
Yeah, but it still has the same motor and performance as the EXL.
Correct. Although I will say this is a good start for the rest of Honda's new products that are coming through, and I can't wait to get my hands on. In particular, I'm very curious about the new CR-V. They also redid the Accord, and they're concentrating on a hybrid driveline as opposed to a gasoline driveline. And also, this is a good start to Honda's new product assault that are having for 2023, as we mentioned before. I'm looking forward to checking out the new CR-V, the updated Accord, as well as the new Pilot that's just come out.
Yeah, certainly those are going to be very nice vehicles. Especially, I think the CR-V will be very attractive with the refresh that they did on that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, you know what this means.
That's the end of our list that we have. And if you want to learn more about the vehicles that we had discussions about, you can read more on victoryreseda.net, where you'll find expanded information on the details of each of the vehicles that we talked about. So check that out.
And if you like what you're watching, don't forget to click like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for our next video right here on our YouTube channel.
I'm George Torline.
And I'm Randy Stern.
Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.